All right, so Amanda,
All right, so we're gonna share screen here.
yep, it's sharing right
It
now.
is? Okay.
Yep,
All right.
so if you want to log in as you, go ahead.
Sure am. So if you have not logged in, as mentioned, go ahead and log in. So that you're in this screen. Let me know when you're there.
Okay, we're actually entering the phone.
So it should be good. Okay, we'll go ahead and jump in. Your main screen should look like this. It looks very different on your phone app. I highly recommend that any large farms that you're pulling do that from your computer. And then you're able to customize it for what you need. And I'll show you that in just a moment. But properties would be individual properties that you're looking into. So if you have a listing appointment, this is a great one to pull information on a specific property. I'll just pop into this one. And that's Doug.
Ah, Doug, okay.
Hello, Doug. Okay, so I'll kind of show you a new option that we have. So once you find your area and you want to create a property profile, we have this really cool AI tool that will help you with some descriptions as well as close by schools, outdoor activities, parks, that kind of thing. So it does give neighborhood highlights. This particular property in Sandy was close to Alda High. Bell Canyon Reservoir is close by, so is the Sandy Amphitheater. And then it gives all the details about the properties. So characteristics, meaning year built, what its style is, how many square feet according to the county. That's not your appraised information. Zoning, all those types of information. Now, keep in mind the county records will not always show if there's a basement that's been refinished, if they didn't do it above board. So the basement may show, it may only show 3 bedrooms. When you happen to know it's 5, don't panic on that. Also gives you some comparables of neighboring properties, and you can do everything from aerial view. Property history shows you transaction dates, that's transfers of title, and you can actually view that document. So if you have questions on vesting, this is a great way to figure that out if you can't get a hold of me. And so there's your basics about your property profiles. We're gonna go back because
So if we're doing a listing, this is a good thing to look into to make sure we have the right names and everything on the paper.
yes, so that history, property history is the last one on the left of your options. That will give you the transfer documents, and the earliest one on there would be most likely your vesting document. Also, if something happened in the last week, that's probably not going to show up on this program. It doesn't need to show on regular information, so just get a hold of me. But the next thing you're going to want to do, we're going to go home because this is what you'll see when you come into the program. Before I jump into farms, which will take up most of our time, I'm just going to go over a couple other tools that we have. We have some calculators, who pays what. I wouldn't go off of this unless you absolutely need to have something quick and can't get a hold of me again. You can do rent versus buy, standard mortgage calculator, title and escrow rate calculator. That's your policy. It's not the best because it's based out of California. It does do our policy rates okay, but it does not have my particular closing fees, so keep that in mind when you go there. Net advantage, if you can see on the left of this screen here, your main screen has just been moved over, so you still have access to it on that left-hand side, this tree of information. So you're not losing it and having to go back home every single time, but you can access it here as well. You can do net sheets through Net Advantage. That's this little square in a square. But again, it doesn't have exact information on my particular closing fees. And so if you have a situation where a buyer or seller is really tight on fees, let me know because we can work around that. I won't be able to discount anything as far as policy goes, but there is some wiggle room there. And I'm pretty good about figuring that out, even if we have to go to multiple underwriters. You can use this, but again, this is just basic information. Could give you a really quick snapshot, but if you want a really good net sheet, let me know. I'll be happy to pull one for you. The last thing on here is more tools, and this is going to give you your document toolbox. You're going to get real estate forms, rate calculator. Don't use this to open an order. Go ahead and send me an email. Recorded doc finder, I've rarely used that here. You can use this program, which I will show you in conjunction with the farms and how this works, but this lists and leads program, we'll just pop in here so you can see. This is where you can find different phone numbers that are scrubbed. They're not free. This part of the program does cost, it's like 5 cents lead, which would be your phone numbers, or if you have particular property types that you're looking for, assumable loans, that kind of thing, you can all look through here. That doesn't mean that is going to cost you an arm and a leg to do this. I know Marlene in your office used this quite a bit and it was minimal in cost. So there's a little bit of information there. We'll hop out of that though, and I'll show you how this works. So this is your gold, your little nugget of information. Have each of you kind of thought about which area that you want to focus on for your farms? They're going on. Well, if you haven't thought of an area that you want to focus on, now is the time to do so. You will get nowhere if you're just randomly pulling areas that really you're not willing to work on for a long period of time. Each farm that you put in, you're probably 6 months of good work on these farms to cultivate it enough that it's going to have a return on your investment. And that's your time investment as well. You're not going to get anywhere if you're hopping around all over Salt Lake County and multiple places and pulling all these farms and then just expecting things to happen. So really think about an area that you want to focus on for the first quarter and work on that. So you're going to want to do, the walking farm is generally used, I would say, better if you're out in the field and you're walking an area. It will get right into your area that you're standing in and then help you with that. Farm focus you can get within your created farm. So you're going to want to start with this polygon area. When you click on that, it's going to ask you enter a place or an address. Does anybody have one that they want me to pull a list on? Probably not.
Let's try 84094. 094. That's the zip code.
Okay.
That's middle of Sandy.
Okay. So if you're pulling a full zip code, that's
Mhm.
gonna be thousands
Thousands,
of
okay.
properties.
So
So you're gonna wanna narrow even further down.
okay, so you see where it says White City and you see there's a
Mhm.
curvy line through the middle of it?
Yep.
Let's just take a look at White City. So.
So
okay,
like
let's
here?
just do the north half of White City, because, so. You see where yep, we're actually gonna go to the north half, so yep, look all the way, yep, the 7th east down to 13th east, where you're at, yep. And then we're gonna go north. Keep going up to, yeah, close enough.
Okay,
Yep, and then across over to 7th east again, and back down, that's my neighborhood.
okay. So if you look, you'll see that I picked this draw polygon and then I went ahead and started my clicking and narrowed it in how I'd like. And now I'm gonna be able to see what this farm looks like to me. Just because you pull it doesn't mean that it's gonna pull all the information for you. You can see if there's too many or not enough properties. I would really focus, whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's,
I would try and
we got a whole, yeah, we got a whole north half, but.
yeah, I would try and focus on 400 to 500 per farm that you pulled. We'll go ahead with this one just because it works. We're gonna call this
White City.
White City. And then you'll create farm. Again, you'll want to stick around the 400 or 500 range. That's more doable, especially when you're starting out. Okay. So it's going to pull up some basic information for you on this farm. Owner occupancy is only 83%, which is great. It's not really giving me a turnover rate, which is interesting. So I'm going to load on the right-hand side. It says turnover history. So I just clicked on that, which isn't terrible. I know these are really low percentages, but it's really not that bad, especially you can see in the last 12 months, it says 0. Highly doubt that's the case. In the last 5 years, 3.8 is pretty good. Now you know this is kind of an area where people stay for a long period of time. So you can kind of think about how that would work for you as far as your marketing efforts go. From this list, you can export it into like your CRV or your CRM. That's something you can do. You can export it to a Excel format. You can create labels from that export list. So if you're doing mailings, again, I wouldn't recommend all 1,000 of these get a postcard because probably half of them will just end up throwing them in the trash. So you want to be really smart about your efforts. If you're going to spend money on something, have it really focused, and we'll go into farm focus here in just a minute. You can view it as a list and you can view it on the map. We'll go ahead and view it on the map so you can see what that looks like. So you see all these little bubbles with people in it or not people in it. The ones that are just blank are non-owner occupied, and the ones that have people in it are owner occupied. So that's a large amount of things. So in order for this to work for you and how your best use of money and time, we want to definitely narrow this down. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to farm focus. So there's a few things that you can look. You're going to create a new farm focus or a focused farm. Move this over here. Okay. Now you have all these options over here. Average transaction is about $6.99, which is very, very good. You've got the option to go owner occupied or absentee owner. You can do both. You can do out of state owners or in-state owners. Both. I would recommend both if you're going to focus on out of non-owner occupied. Just capture all those. You can go and say, I'm only going to do odd numbers or even numbers for house numbers. I've never seen that one being used, but I mean, whatever you're doing, you can do likely to sell. So there's a math that's done that puts, I honestly couldn't even tell you what this
I think,
or how.
is it based on how long they've been in the home?
It could be, there's a number of factors for that, but the computer knows more than I do.
So if we could go down to the Siegel Lily,
Uh-huh.
good grief,
So you've got quite a few that are
yeah,
likely to sell. So we could call this one likely to sell. And then you're going to create that. And then it will pull up a mini farm within your large farm of the 10 properties, it looks like, that are likely to sell. And that's a great way to start. You can focus on those. Not all owner occupied, so that's good too. You can view it on the map. This mini farm is going to be a lot cleaner once you see it. And there's not as many. That doesn't mean you lost all the information. This is a sub farm within your master farm.
okay, I can tell you about some. Yep. The one across the street actually is listed.
Oh, interesting.
So I see the one that shows on Siegel Lily Drive, there's that one right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one actually is listed,
Oh, that's cool.
because they moved out of state.
Okay, so here's a few things. You're in here and let's say you're working along and you know this one is listed already. So we can actually delete that from your list because you don't want to put your efforts into something that's listed. But hey, this one's not. So we can go in and we can view property. You from here can create property profiles. If you're doing these small lists, you could create a property profile that you take to the client when you knock on the door. That would be really cool to say, along with your other options, like here's what your value is. You just look really well prepared. Let's say you talk to them and they are super interested. You're going to say this is a lead. Oh, why did it kick me out? Well, friends, hold on. So remember, we don't lose what we worked on.
That's why we get saved.
So I'm going to go into my farm and then into farm focus. And it puts me right back into the option.
Okay.
So we can do this again. And hopefully it doesn't kick me out this time. All right.
1218 Siegel Lily.
So we're going to view this property again.
Yep.
We're going to say it's a lead. They're super interested, so it's a 5. And we're going to say a no. Okay. Knocked on the door. And they need to move in before February. Okay. So you can add notes, what you talked about. I would do the Michael Scott method, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. As much information as you receive at the door, you should be including. Silly things like they had 5 dogs, whatever, you know, that is super important because if you're going to list that property and you want to be able to obtain a property for them later that has a backyard that's fenced because they have 5 dogs, just information. Call it the Michael Scott method because if you remember, he had the Rolodex with all the details about every person he's ever met, so you can remember them. But go ahead and add as much as you can for the notes. You're going to add note now. And then when you go back to your farm, you can see that this one has turned green because it's a lead. So now you know that this is a great opportunity for you there. And now you have 8 others that you can work through. You can do all the touch points. I don't know if anybody knows how many touch points it actually takes to obtain a client on average. in real estate. Let's put that, because it's different for other places. Your magic number is 12. 12. That's
Sometimes they-
12
to be
touches
contact.
in a year to be on top of mind. So, keep that in mind when you're working through your efforts. That can include things from mailings, pop-ins, your first interaction, different, invites to different things. If you're interacting with them, they're a client. If they're continually interacting with you, I know they haven't signed anything, they haven't whatever, but the fact that they're interacting with you at all, keep them on a list, because they're going to go to you when they decide to do either way, because you are the one that's in their face all the time, which is not a bad thing. I know people don't want to be pests, but there's a way to do it that's not being a pest. All right, so let's say you've exhausted your efforts on this and you want to do something else. We're going to go back into this farm and we're going to create another focus. So let's say this week you want to focus on something different in that area. Let's say you want to focus on any of the properties in here that has like, we can do absentee owners. Yeah, you can even see if there's a pool or not. Utah, so
Actually, I think there were a couple in there.
there are
too.
quite a
I don't know
few
what
in
they
Sandy.
were.
Okay, we're gonna call this non-owner. Okay. So you have 165 properties in that area, where you have an opportunity to either connect with a investor, or they only have one property. Either way, this is a great opportunity. Not only for that, but now you know that there's renters in that property, so knocking on that door is not gonna be a problem either. You have two opportunities here. You have the renter that's in the property, plus you have the option of getting a hold of the investor that owns the home. So this is a great way to start if you want like the biggest bang for your buck. This is probably going to be where I would start, is with the non-owner occupied, because that way you're kind of getting two different lists. And so 165 times 2, that's kind of what your options are here. So you can do, again, you can export it. If you export it, it will pull up any of your notes. You can have that. You can put it into your CRM. I don't know what you guys use specifically, but
So we use, we're using follow-up boss. If you export it as a CSV file.
Yep.
Then you can import directly into,
Yep.
follow-up boss, and I'll show you how to, that's a separate training, I'll show you how to do. But if you export it and save it, then it's really simple.
yeah, your CSV file right here will export it right into your CRM. So that's pretty amazing. You want to view this on the map again. This would be, if it will pull for me, sorry. Okay, again, this is like a mini farm within a farm. So now you have all these non-owner occupied that you can now figure out if you want to do mailings for the renter that's in the property. You can do mailings for your owners. Hey, there's another property in this area that you might be interested in. If you want another door, there's so many options for this type of narrowed down farm. That would be an excellent use of your time. Especially if you're door knocking. I know you guys kind of focus on that here and there, but that gives you,
I'm laughing about one because it's showing down on the occupied and it's a dentist's office.
oh yeah, well, I mean, you're gonna have some commercial,
Yep,
but that's okay. If you wanna,
right on the corner of 13th East and Sigaloli Drive,
yeah.
right there. Oop.
This area must be, so when you are doing these, I would really narrow them in and make sure you're getting just the residential.
Yeah.
This is completely fine. I'll send this on to you so that
Well,
you
this
have
one's
it.
unique because that's the only non-residential in the whole area.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that. Again, you'll be able to go in individually. If you take around your nice iPads or whatever, you can show them their property profiles at the door when you knock on the door. Also, you're gonna be able to tell who owns this property. You'll be able to see, you know, year built, square footage, how many bedrooms. Make all your notes you want. This is essential if you're doing this with the renters, because you're gonna wanna do, again, do as many notes as possible. Had 5 dogs or 3 children are at the door, whatever it is that you notice, definitely use that, add a new note and make sure that, because they're going to want to purchase, not necessarily sell. So you're gonna wanna be able to find something that works for them. If you are really good about reading people and kind of observing what's going on around you, you might be able to go back to them and say, hey, I noticed you had the 5 dogs or whatever. There's this awesome property down the street that has a huge backyard that just went up for sale. I'm wondering if you'd like to go look at it. You just open something up to them at a possibility they probably would not even thought about. So don't be shy in offering things like that, especially if they're interacting with you. Again, observe and connect. I know that's a big thing. So connect with your the people at the door. That's something that's going to be huge for you as you go around this. The more connection you can make, the better. Okay, so you don't want to do this property profile, but as you go along, you're going to be able to narrow this down as much as you want. Again, it takes 6 months to a year for you to really see the value out of this area. So Darren happens to live in the area. It's great. He's already involved in the community. Let's say you're looking into a community that you don't live in. It would be really good to hop on your Facebook and figure out what, like, neighborhoods, what community things are going on in that area. Get with the local city library, figure out what free events that are going on. You never know, as long as you get involved in the community, it's going to make your chances of making a connection in that area a lot higher. You become the expert, and so you don't look like an idiot when you're trying to explain to them why they should move out of this particular area or move into. So do get involved. That would be a huge way to create that connection. If you're showing up to things, you're showing up to community events, you're going to be the face that they remember when it's time to sell or buy. So that will be huge. We'll touch base really quick on this list to leads. So it runs the same basic way as your other program. So you'll be able to go in on your map and draw the map again. What's that zip code again? 8409694. So you can pull the exact same map. Let's say you want to pull distressed properties or you want to pull certain demographics. You can do that. You can do other, which I would do. You can do mailing lists, that kind of thing. Let's do property. Why is this not giving me?
We did draw that, yeah.
Okay. 4094. So here's your tool to be able to draw that. I don't know why it's not scrolling. That's okay. I'm just gonna choose
Yep.
basic area. Okay,
There we go. We made it a little bit smaller than, well, moved a little bit further north.
so there's
Same thing.
612 properties. You don't want to buy 612 worth of information. You can do the other button and you can do phone number types. I would do both. You can add that. I would do you can do MLS active listing. You can do standardized mailing address. I would just add what you can. So scrubbed phone numbers are ones that are not on the do not call list. So you can add that in there. That's 120 phone numbers. So it's $7. I mean, for 120 phone numbers, if you get one connection through 120 phone numbers, you've more than paid for your $7.20. You can add that to cart, check out, and it will create that same list. You'll be able to export it into,
Right into,
yep.
okay,
So, I mean, that's very minimal for another option of connecting with people. I mean, most people are just on their cell phones, so you could add that to a text mailing campaign if you want. There's different options there. So just a little FYI, or does anybody have any questions before I kind of go into this next little spiel? No?
now on the app, if we were to go into the app on our
Mhm.
phone, and pull up that same farm, all that information will be there.
Yep. The great thing on your phone, let's say you're driving down the street, and in your phone, there is a little like camera option that you don't see on your desktop. And if you're driving down the street and you want to figure out who owns this particular property, because your client said, I fell in love with this house, I drove by, please figure out who owns it. You can go and take a picture of the home and it will pull up your property information for you by just taking a picture with the app. I don't know anything else that offers that. It's pretty amazing. So you literally have all that information right at your fingertips. There should be no reason why you can't figure out who owns or whatever. If for some reason it's not working through the app, let me know. I love figuring it out. I can do some research as well. But I would need a roundabout area as far as address. But you know, how many times have you had a client, maybe not for those that are super new, but say, I love that property that's right across the street from my sister's house, and I just want to know who owns it and all the information. You may be able to figure out that it will probably it's likely to sell just by pulling up the information through this title advantage, and that's huge. Maybe you'll be able to get 2 transactions out of that. They didn't know they were going to sell. Now they are. Well, more than that, maybe more, but one thing that I would highly recommend with using this app is don't treat it as, I don't have to talk to people, I don't have to connect. You're going to want to connect as much as possible with the information that you're receiving with these amazing people that you're going to be able to talk to over the next 6 to 12 months per farm. Now, if something's not working after about 6 months, then I would say go ahead and change to a new one. You really have to work a farm. It's no different. They call it a farm for a reason. It's no different than growing crops. Like you will not be able to put a seed in the ground and immediately have your corn or whatever. You have to cultivate it and grow it in order for it to produce what you want. So that's why they call it a farm, because same idea. You have to actually work it. Any questions before we kind of lose our recording? All right, if you do have any questions further on, let me know. I'm happy to hop in and help you on this. We are going to do kind of a deep dive event on the 5th of January, where I'm going to teach more on this, but as well as connection efforts. We're gonna have somebody come in and talk connection. So if you want more education on this, we will be doing that January 5th at your office here. We'll try and not, it'd be better if you can be there in person. If not, we will Zoom for those that cannot make it in person. But it would be a huge benefit for you to come in and learn how to make connections, your body language and things like that, with your clients. So that's coming up on January 5th. Also, we have our open house on the 19th. Come in and see me and get a treat. And we can also show you more if you have questions on that day as well. So,
Okay.
and I'm always readily available by phone.
All right, thanks, Amanda.
So that's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for those who don't
Thank
realize
you.
that Amanda's office is right across from ours, so it's not a long walk.
Oh, great.
Okay,
Yeah, we love pop-ins.
all right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.